Hold on tight to your Blaugrana scarves, cules, because today, the Camp Nou is on fire, and not just because of a match. Deco, our Portuguese magician in the boardroom, has just pulled a rabbit out of his hat that no one, not a single soul, saw coming. FC Barcelona, the club that's always kept us on the edge of our seats, has just finalized a signing that feels like a last-minute winner in the Champions League. Unexpected, epic, and with everyone screaming in disbelief. But stay calm, because here, we're going to break down this masterstroke like we're analyzing a pinpoint Xavi pass at his peak. The morning in Barcelona dawns with a shy sun, the kind that seems to ask permission to shine. But inside the club's offices, the atmosphere is more like a boiler about to explode. Phones won't stop ringing. Emails are flying faster than a Dembele counterattack on his best day. And Deco, with that calm of someone who knows he's holding an ace up his sleeve, is finalizing the details of a move that's leaving every cule speechless. Who's the new star? Where did he come from? Is he a lethal striker? A midfielder who'll make us forget Busquets? Or a defender who'll bring order to the backline like Puyol in his glory days? Well, let's not jump ahead. This story has more twists than a Messi dribble. It all started a few weeks ago when rumors on social media and in the city's bars began heating up. The cules, always alert, speculated about names from every league, young Premier League prospects, battle-hardened Serie A veterans. But Deco, with that sly smile that seems to say, "Keep talking, I've already sealed the deal," stayed silent. Not a hint, not a wink, nothing. Meanwhile, the sports press went wild. Barcelona targets a Galactico, one headline screamed. Deco negotiating in the shadows, another howled. And in the debates, the pundits argued like they were settling the age-old question. Which was Ronaldinho's best goal, the bicycle kick or the free kick against Chelsea? But no one, not even the most well-connected insiders, had a clue what was really going on. And that's because Deco, the man who plays chess while everyone else is stuck in a game of indoor soccer, had been moving pieces in the shadows. Club insiders, yes, those mysterious sources who always seem to know more than we do, say the sporting director had been in touch with agents, club presidents, and even a few sheiks. All to finalize a deal that, in his mind, would shift the team's momentum. And it's no coincidence, because Barca, even with Flick steadying the ship, needed a statement. The fans, loyal as ever, have been demanding a name that sparks dreams, that brings the magic back to the Camp Nou pitch. And Deco, who understands the weight of the Blaugrana jersey better than anyone, knew it. So, who's the chosen one? Here's the thunderbolt, cules, brace yourselves. The unexpected signing is none other than him. Yes, you read that right. A name that probably sounds more like a Netflix character than a football star, but give it a second, because it gets interesting. O'Connell, a 24-year-old Irish midfielder, flew under the radar in the Bundesliga, specifically at Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's not your typical media darling splashed across headlines, but those who know football, and Deco is one of them, have had their eyes on him for a while. This guy, with his fiery red hair and an intensity on the pitch that's more Kevin De Bruyne with less glamour and more grit, is the kind of player who doesn't just run, he makes others run. O'Connell isn't your flashy, high-profile signing. He doesn't have a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers or an Instagram feed full of yacht photos. But what he does have is a resume that's starting to speak for itself. Last season in Germany, he scored 6 goals and provided 9 assists from midfield. Not bad stats for a team that isn't competing for European titles. But what really caught Deco's eye was his ability to read the game, like he's got a GPS in his head. Scouts say he's one of those players who's always in the right place at the right time, as if the ball seeks him out, not the other way around. And if you're already freaking out, hit subscribe, because what comes next is even wilder. This guy has a cannon for a right foot and a vision that could make Pedri jealous. But hold on, the story behind this signing has more substance than a calamari sandwich at Barceloneta. Turns out, O'Connell wasn't on anyone's radar, not the journalists, not the analysts, not even those Twitter pundits who seem to know more than Laporta himself. Deco, in a move worthy of a ninja, found out the Irishman's contract was entering its final year, making him a bargain by today's market standards. How much did it cost? The numbers aren't crystal clear, but we're talking around 35 million euros, a steal in this era of financial madness, like finding a Black Friday deal on a priceless gem. And no, Barca isn't swimming in cash, but Deco proved he can negotiate like a pro haggling in a souk. The official announcement drops like a bolt from the blue on a clear day. It's noon in Barcelona, and the club's social media starts teasing with those cryptic videos we love. First, a clover, then a shot of the Camp Nou with epic music playing, and finally, the message, "Welcome." The fans, expecting a more Galactico name, are left stunned. "Who is this guy?" one fan tweets. "Deco, explain yourself," another demands. But then there are those who, curious, start searching for O'Connell's highlights on YouTube and stumble upon a reel of passes, dribbles, and a few stunning goals that leave them speechless. Within an hour, #O'Connell or #Connellmania is trending worldwide. Let's clear one thing up. Signing an unknown isn't new for Barça. Who knew Marco Verratti when he arrived? Or a certain Ronaldinho before he turned the Camp Nou upside down? Deco, who knows what it's like to arrive as an unknown and leave as a legend, has a clinical eye for these kinds of moves. And it's not just about talent. O'Connell is arriving at a time when the Barça midfield needs fresh blood. With GAVI recovering, PEDRI pacing himself, and De Jong still searching for his best form, the Irishman could be that surprise ingredient that gives the team a whole new flavor. Picture O'Connell winning back balls like a bloodhound and feeding passes to Lewandowski, who must already be licking his lips at the thought of the service he's about to get. But not everything is rosy, cules. Like in any good telenovela, there's a bit of drama. Some fans, the most skeptical ones, aren't entirely convinced. 35 million for a guy who hasn't even played in the Champions League, complains a radio pundit. It's an unnecessary risk, another shouts. And they're not entirely wrong. Modern football waits for no one, and a bad signing can turn into a nightmare for a club that's already seen financial highs and lows. But that's where the Deco factor comes in. The Portuguese isn't the type to throw money out the window. Every euro spent is calculated, as if he's playing Monopoly with the club's budget. And if he believes in O'Connell, it's because he must have seen something the rest of us mere mortals haven't grasped yet. Let's talk more about Kieran, because this guy deserves a vote of confidence. Born in Dublin, he grew up playing in the streets of his neighborhood, where football was more about survival than glamour. At 16, a Mönchengladbach scout spotted him at a youth tournament and decided to take a chance on him. Since then, he's been making giant strides, always away from the spotlight. He's the kind of player who doesn't need the limelight to shine, like a star in Barcelona's sky that you only notice if you look closely. His playing style is a mix of elegance and grit. He can deliver a 40-meter pass that leaves the opposing goalkeeper with a "what just happened?" look, but he can also tackle like his life depends on it. And here's the thing, his character fits perfectly with the Cule mentality, humble, but with that touch of audacity needed to succeed at a club like Barça. O'Connell's presentation at the Camp Nou is a spectacle. The fans, initially divided, start to get excited as they see him step onto the pitch in the Blaugrana jersey. He does a few ball tricks that remind us of Neymar's best moments, and when he takes the mic, he drops a "Visca el Barça" with an Irish accent that draws laughs and applause. "I'm here to work, to learn, and to give everything for this club," he says. And even if it sounds like a cliché, there's something in his eyes that feels genuine. Flick, with his usual serious professor demeanor, nods in approval from the bench. It seems the German already has plans for his new protégé. And here's the best part, Cules. This signing isn't just another name on the roster, it's a statement. Deco is sending a clear message. Barça doesn't need to spend 100 million euros on a Galactico to compete. With intelligence, hard work, and a little magic, we can build a team capable of shaking up Europe's elite. O'Connell is just the first piece of a puzzle that promises strong emotions. And if you want to stay updated on every detail, every rumor, and every move of this new Barça, hit subscribe, because you won't see this on the evening news. But how does O'Connell fit into Flick's system? That's the question on everyone's mind. The German coach, who has restored hope to the team with his tactical discipline and faith in youth, seems to have a clear vision. In training, we've already seen Kieran moving like a fish in water in a 4-3-3, playing as a left midfielder but with the freedom to roam. His versatility is one of his greatest strengths. He can play as a defensive pivot if needed, but also as a classic number 10, the kind who gets the stands on their feet. Flick, who isn't easily impressed, stated in a press conference that O'Connell is a player who understands football the way we do. And if Flick says it, we believe it. Of course, it won't all be smooth sailing. Adapting to Barça isn't easy. Just ask Coutinho, Griezmann, or any of the others who arrived with a star label and crumbled under the weight of the jersey. O'Connell will have to face the pressure of a demanding fanbase, the scrutiny of the media, and opponents who won't cut him any slack. But there's something about this guy that inspires confidence. Maybe it's his attitude, a mix of humility and ambition that reminds us of the greats. Or maybe it's the fact that Deco, with his track record of success, has given us reasons to believe. Meanwhile, on social media, #O'Connell and #Connellmania keep growing. The memes are already rolling in. From photoshops of Kieran with a giant clover to comparisons with Iniesta, okay, maybe that's a stretch, the excitement is palpable. We Qs, who get excited quickly, are already imagining O'Connell lifting the Champions League trophy in a few years. But there's also room for humor. Deco signed an Irishman to supply Lewandowski with Guinness, jokes a Twitter user. Another replies, if O'Connell plays half as well as he dances in those TikTok videos, we're doomed. And it's true, even if the signing was a surprise, the fans' good vibes are contagious. Now, let's talk numbers, because in modern football, everything is measured. O'Connell arrives on a 4-year deal with an optional 5th year, and his salary, according to rumors, is far from the astronomical figures of other signings. That's important, because Barça, even in its recovery phase, still needs to watch every euro. Deco has struck the perfect balance, a promising young player at a reasonable price. But the real test will be on the pitch. If O'Connell can adapt to Barca's rhythm, he could be the club's next big success story. If not, well, we can always say it was a bold experiment. On the horizon, the schedule is relentless. Barça faces a season full of challenges: La Liga, the Champions League, the Copa del Rey, and who knows, maybe another title along the way. O'Connell will likely make his debut in a few weeks, probably coming off the bench in a league match. The fans are already counting down the days to see him in action, to find out if this Irishman has what it takes to win over the hearts of the Qs. And in the meantime, Deco continues to work behind the scenes, because if this signing has taught us anything, it's that the Portuguese always has an ace up his sleeve. To wrap it up, Qs, remember this: football is unpredictable, like a Rabona pass from Ronaldinho or a scissor-kick goal from Rivaldo. No one expected O'Connell, but that's what makes this signing so special. It's a risky bet, yes, but it's also proof that Barça remains a club that dares to dream. So, as we wait to see how this new chapter in Blaugrana history unfolds, there's only one thing left to do: support, vibrate, and, above all, enjoy. Because being a Ql is about living every signing, every match, every moment as if it were the last. We remain anchored in this vibrant Barcelona morning, with the echo of Kieran O'Connell's Visca el Barça still resonating through the Camp Nou. The fans, with that unique blend of disbelief and enthusiasm only we Qs know how to conjure, are beginning to digest this signing that dropped like a thunderbolt in the middle of summer. The stands, though empty at this hour, seem to whisper promises of epic nights ahead, and in the streets of the city, bars are already buzzing with heated debates. O'Connell, Barca's next great hero, or Deco's risky gamble? The answer, as always in football, lies on the pitch. But while we wait for the ball to roll, let's dive into the details of this masterstroke, because there's so much more to tell. Behind the scenes at the club, the atmosphere is electric. Staff, from social media managers to the logistics team organizing the presentation, are working against the clock. They need to prepare the official press conference where O'Connell will face questions from a press corps more lost than a defender trying to mark Messi in his prime. Deco, with his characteristic calm, strides through the halls with a folder under his arm, as if he's carrying the blueprints for a spaceship. And it's no coincidence, because this signing isn't just about bringing in a new player, it's about crafting a narrative, a story that connects with the fans and restores Barca's aura of unpredictability, which we all love so much. Let's talk context, because this move didn't come out of nowhere. FC Barcelona, even as it experiences a renaissance under Hansi Flick, has been navigating turbulent waters for years. Injuries, financial troubles, and the pressure to compete with giants like Manchester City and Real Madrid have tested the patience of the Qs. But Deco, who knows the club inside out, understands that the solution doesn't always lie in flashy names. Sometimes, the key is to find someone who embodies the Blaugrana DNA, someone who understands that playing for Barca isn't just about talent, it's about soul. And that's where O'Connell comes in, like a supporting actor who ends up stealing the show. Kieran, at 24 years old and looking like he's never broken a plate in his life, has a personal story that could be the script for a Hollywood movie. He grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Dublin, where football was more than just a game. It was an escape, a dream, a way to feel alive. His father, a taxi driver and die-hard Celtic Glasgow fan, taught him to love the ball from a young age. "If you don't fight for every ball like it's your last, you don't deserve to wear the shirt," he'd tell him. And Kieran, who seems to have had those words branded into his soul, plays with an intensity that's almost contagious. In videos of his matches at Mönchengladbach, you see him running until the final whistle, pressing as if the score is 0-0, even when his team is comfortably ahead. That grit, that hunger, it's exactly what Barça needs right now. But it's not just instinct. O'Connell has an impressive footballing brain. Analysts who've studied his game, and believe me, since the signing was announced, scouts worldwide have been revisiting his matches, say his greatest quality is his ability to anticipate. It's not just that he runs a lot or tackles hard, it's that he seems to know where the ball will be before anyone else. In a match against Bayern, for example, he made a midfield interception that led to a deadly counterattack, all because he read the game like he had a script in his head. That kind of intelligence isn't something you learn. You either have it or you don't, and Kieran, fortunately, has it in spades. So, how did a guy from Dublin end up becoming Deco's bet? The story is worth telling. It turns out Barca's scouting network had been tracking O'Connell for months, but it wasn't until a Bundesliga match against Dortmund that Deco gave the final green light. In that game, Kieran went up against an elite midfield, and not only did he hold his own, he dominated the match. 2 assists, 90% pass accuracy, and defensive coverage that left German commentators speechless. Deco, watching from his office in Barcelona, immediately called his trusted team. "This is our man," he said, according to those in the room. And so began an operation that, while seemingly straightforward, had its tense moments. Mönchengladbach, not a club accustomed to selling its gems, initially put up roadblocks. They wanted more, aware that O'Connell, though not a media star, was a cornerstone of their team. But Deco, with his blend of Portuguese charm and shrewd negotiation skills, knew how to play his cards. Rumor has it he personally traveled to Germany to meet with the club's executives, a detailed plan under his arm explaining how the transfer would benefit everyone. Kieran, for his part, didn't hesitate for a second when he learned of Barca's interest. "Playing at the Camp Nou is a dream," he said as he signed the contract. And even if it sounds like a cliché, in his case, you can tell he means it. And speaking of dreams, the Kuhl fans are starting to dream big. In the bars along La Rambla, conversations revolve around how O'Connell will fit into the starting 11. Will he be the perfect partner for PEDRI, or perhaps a backup for De Jong in the most demanding matches? The optimists already imagine him forming a deadly trio with GAVI and PEDRI, a kind of holy trinity of midfielders combining talent, hard work, and youth. Others, more cautious, prefer to wait and see him in action before declaring victory. But if there's one thing everyone agrees on, it's that Deco has surprised us again. And if you're already buzzing over this move, hit subscribe to the channel, because what's coming this season promises to be a wild ride you won't want to miss. Let's talk about the impact this signing could have in the dressing room. Flick's Barca is a team under construction, a group of players learning to function like a well-oiled machine. O'Connell's arrival doesn't just bring technical quality, it brings a breath of fresh air. Teammates who've already trained with him in the first sessions are impressed. Rafinha, who isn't exactly known for handing out compliments, commented in an internal interview that the Irishman has something special, a spark you can see on the pitch. Lewandowski, always on the lookout for good playmakers, has already asked the coaching staff for minutes alongside O'Connell to start building chemistry. But not everything is idyllic. In a club like Barca, where the pressure is constant, the arrival of an unknown player sparks all kinds of reactions. Some veterans, according to rumors circulating in the halls, are a bit skeptical. It's not that they doubt Kieran's quality, but they know the Camp Nou isn't just any stadium. Here, it's not enough to be good, you have to be exceptional. And then there's the issue of internal competition. With such a talented midfield, O'Connell will have to fight to earn his place. Flick, a master at managing egos, has already made it clear there are no guaranteed starters. "Whoever trains best plays," he declared in a recent press conference, and those words echo like a mantra at the Ciutat Esportiva. Meanwhile, on social media, the O'Connell fever continues to grow. The Kuhls, experts at turning an unknown into an overnight star, have already created fan accounts dedicated to the Irishman. Some have unearthed videos of his matches in Mönchengladbach's youth teams, where he's seen scoring free kicks with surgical precision. Others have found childhood photos of him wearing a Barça jersey, a gift from an uncle who traveled to Catalonia when Kieran was little. These small details are the ones that begin to build the myth. At Barça, a player doesn't just win over the fans with goals or assists. He also needs a story that resonates, that makes the Kules feel he's one of their own. And speaking of stories, there's an anecdote circulating among journalists covering the club that's worth telling. During negotiations, O'Connell insisted on including a clause in his contract allowing him to visit a football school in Barcelona to give talks to children. This isn't common in signings, especially for someone so young. But Kieran, who knows what it's like to grow up without resources, wants to give back to the community. This gesture, though it won't make headlines, speaks volumes about his character. He's the kind of player who thinks not just about the pitch, but about what football can mean to others. And in a club like Barça, which has always claimed to be more than a club, that's pure gold. Let's focus now on the tactical aspect, because that's where things get really interesting. Hansi Flick, who has brought Barça a philosophy based on high pressing and purposeful possession, sees O'Connell as a versatile player capable of adapting to multiple roles. In training, he's been seen playing as a pivot, but also pushing into the opponent's box like an attacking midfielder with an offensive license. His ability to recover balls and distribute with precision makes him the perfect complement to players like GAVI, who brings chaos, or PEDRI, who sets the tempo. But what has surprised the coaching staff the most is his physical endurance. In a recent test, O'Connell ran over 12 kilometers in a simulated match, putting him on par with the best in terms of physical output. Of course, not everything is perfect. Some analysts point out that O'Connell still needs to refine certain aspects of his game, such as his decision-making under pressure. In the Bundesliga, where matches are often more open, he had more space to maneuver. In La Liga, where teams close down spaces tightly, and in the Champions League, where every mistake is costly, he'll need to adapt quickly. But Flick, who has a clinical eye for spotting potential, is convinced Kieran can make the leap. In fact, he's already asked the staff to design a specific training plan to help him adjust to the rhythm of Spanish football. Economically, this signing is a lesson in doing things the right way. In a market where prices have skyrocketed, remember the €120 million spent on players like Coutinho in the past, the €35 million for O'Connell seems like a reasonable investment. Additionally, the contract includes a series of bonuses tied to performance goals, such as the number of matches played or titles won, which protects the club if things don't go as planned. Deco, who has had to navigate Barça's financial restrictions, has shown that it's possible to build a competitive project without betting everything on a single player. And if you want to follow every step of this new Blaugrana era closely, subscribe, because this story is far from over, and what's coming seems epic. Meanwhile, the city is beginning to embrace its new adopted son. In the Camp Nou merchandise shops, jerseys with the number 17, chosen by Kieran because it's the number I wore in my schoolyard, are already being prepared. Kids in Barcelona's schools are already asking for balls to imitate their new idol's passes, and on social media, memes about his fiery red hair are multiplying. "It's like Roy Keane signed for Barça," jokes one Twitter user, while another replies, "If he plays half as hard as he fights on the pitch, let's sign him for action movies too." Good humor, as always, is part of the Kule DNA. But beyond the jokes, one question lingers in the air. Can O'Connell become a symbol of the new Barça? Because that's what the club needs right now, not just players, but symbols. Someone who embodies the hope of a fan base that has been through tough times but has never stopped believing. Kieran, with his story of overcoming adversity, his humility, and his talent, has all the ingredients to become that symbol. The road won't be easy. The pressure of the Camp Nou, the demands of the media, the internal competition, all of it will be a trial by fire. However, if there's one thing players like Xavi, Iniesta, or Deco himself have taught us, it's that greats aren't born, they're made. And O'Connell, with his blend of hard work and talent, has everything it takes to write his name into Blaugrana history. As the sun sets over Barcelona, the city prepares for a new era. The signing of O'Connell isn't just another name on the roster, it's a message, a bet, a dream. Deco has lit the fuse, and now it's up to Kieran, Flick, and all of us, the Kules, to make sure this spark turns into a wildfire. So, as we wait to see how this adventure unfolds, there's only one thing left to do. Keep dreaming, keep supporting, and, above all, keep being Barça. We remain anchored in this Barcelona sunset, with the city buzzing over a signing that has everyone talking, from the taxi drivers on Diagonal to the waiters in the Gothic Quarters bars. Kieran O'Connell's name is on everyone's lips, and though the sun is already kissing the horizon, the energy around the Camp Nou isn't fading. It's as if the spirit of Barça, the one that makes us leap from our seats at every magnificent goal, has found a new reason to beat strongly. Deco has dropped a bombshell, and now it's time to explore every corner of this move, because there are details that deserve to be told, details that make this story even bigger than it seems. Deep inside the club, the machine doesn't stop. The scouts, those unsung heroes who spend hours analyzing matches on computer screens, are revisiting every one of O'Connell's actions to prepare a detailed report for Hansi Flick. The German, known for his obsession with data, wants to know everything, from the average distance Kieran covers in a match to the percentage of aerial duels he wins. And the numbers, Kules, don't lie. In his last season at Borussia Mönchengladbach, O'Connell averaged 11.8 kilometers per match, a stat that places him among Europe's hardest-working midfielders. But it's not just about quantity, it's how he runs. His ability to close down spaces, intercept passes, and launch rapid transitions is like he has a built-in radar, a kind of superpower that always keeps him one step ahead. Off the pitch, O'Connell's arrival has created a domino effect no one expected. In the official Barça stores, employees are overwhelmed. Jerseys with the number 17 and O'Connell on the back are selling faster than Messi scored that legendary goal against Getafe. The fans, who have a special knack for spotting future idols, are already customizing scarves and flags with the Irish shamrock, a nod to Kieran's roots, which have already become a symbol. Around the Camp Nou, street vendors have caught the fever and are already selling stickers with the phrase, Irish Magic, next to a silhouette of a redhead striking a ball. This is the kind of thing that only happens in Barcelona, where passion for football blends with limitless creativity. But let's talk about what's happening inside the dressing room, because that's where this story truly begins to take shape. The players who trained this morning under the Catalan sun are intrigued by their new teammate. In today's sessions, O'Connell showed a level of integration that surprised even the veterans. In a possession drill, he was seen linking up with LAMINE YAMAL in a move that left the young winger grinning. "This guy sees things others don't," YAMAL commented to one of the fitness coaches, according to a source close to the team. And it's no coincidence. Kieran has that rare ability to make passes look effortless, as if the ball is programmed to find his teammates at the perfect moment. Araujo, the silent leader of the dressing room, has also given his approval. During a rondo, O'Connell even dared to nutmeg the Uruguayan defender, sparking laughter and shouts of, "Come on, redhead!" These small but meaningful gestures are the ones that build chemistry in a team. Because Barça, beyond tactics and systems, is a club of moments, of human connections that transcend the pitch, and Kieran, with his laid-back yet professional attitude, seems to fit like a glove. Even Lewandowski, who isn't easily impressed, was seen chatting with him during a break, likely asking how he plans to serve up those passes that will leave him one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Meanwhile, Deco is managing the other side of the signing, the media. Because yes, Kules, even if O'Connell isn't a headline-grabbing Galactico, his arrival has stirred up attention that needs careful handling. The international press, especially in Britain, is starting to take notice of this Irishman who went from unknown to the center of attention in one of the world's most football-crazed cities. A London newspaper has already published an article titled, "The Irish Hank Who Conquered Barcelona," featuring a photo of Kieran celebrating a goal with the same intensity as if he just won the Champions League. And in Germany, Mönchengladbach fans are divided. Some see it as betrayal, others as pride that one of their own has made the leap to a giant like Barça. Deco, who knows that storytelling is as important as the signing itself, has given clear instructions to the communications team. "We need to present O'Connell as a symbol of the club's new era, but without exaggeration." In a meeting with social media managers, the Portuguese insisted that welcome videos should show Kieran in action and in more human moments, like when he visited a local school in Dublin to hand out balls to kids. "We want the fans to feel close to him," Deco said, according to an insider. And the strategy is working. On X, formerly Twitter, the hashtags #IrishKule and #O'Connell17 are trending, and videos of his best moments already have millions of views. If this gives you chills, subscribe to the channel, because this adventure is just beginning, and what's coming is going to be wild. Now, let's focus on an aspect we can't ignore, O'Connell's connection with La Masia. Because Barça, more than any other club, is a dream factory, and La Masia is its heart. Flick and Deco have made it clear they want a team that blends external talent with the essence of homegrown youth, and Kieran seems to be the perfect bridge. In training, he's been seen talking with Masia prospects like Mark Guiu and Pau Kubarsi, offering advice and sharing stories from his own youth career in Ireland. He seems like he's been here forever, one of the Masia coaches commented, impressed by how seamlessly O'Connell has fit into the club's dynamic. This connection to Barca's values is crucial. Kieran isn't just bringing technical quality, he's bringing a mentality that aligns with the club's philosophy. In an interview he gave a few years ago in Germany, when he was still unknown, he spoke about his admiration for Guardiola's Barca. That team played like the ball was in love with them, he said. And now that he has the chance to wear this jersey, he seems determined to honor that admiration. Flick, who has studied every detail of his new signing, believes O'Connell can be the glue that binds the veteran's talent with the freshness of the youth, creating a team that's competitive now and in the long term. Let's also talk about the cultural impact this signing is having in Barcelona. The city, which has always welcomed its players with open arms, is beginning to embrace Kieran as one of its own. In the bars of Barceloneta, waiters are already jokingly offering a Pinta O'Connell in honor of the new midfielder. In schools, kids are practicing long passes, hoping to imitate their new hero. Even the street musicians on La Rambla have incorporated Kieran's name into their improvised songs, blending Visca el Barca with references to shamrocks and Guinness. This is the kind of fever that only an unexpected signing can generate, a fever reminiscent of the days when Ronaldinho arrived at the airport and the entire city came to a standstill. But not everything is a celebration. Inside the club, there's an internal debate about how to manage expectations, because even though O'Connell has enormous potential, he's still human. The club's leadership knows that Cule fans are demanding, and a few bad performances could quickly turn euphoria into criticism. Deco, who has experienced the pressure of the Camp Nou firsthand, is working to protect his new star. According to sources close to the club, the Portuguese personally spoke to Kieran to explain what it means to play for Barca. Here, it's not enough to be good, you have to be unforgettable, he told him. And Kieran, who isn't easily intimidated, nodded with a mix of respect and ambition. "I'm ready," he replied. Even if it sounds like a movie line, there's something in his tone that makes it believable. Tactically, there's even more to explore. Flick, a master at adapting players to his system, has already tested O'Connell in multiple positions during training. In a closed-door session, he was seen playing as a double pivot alongside Casado, the promising La Masia midfielder. The combination was a success. Casado provided defensive order, while Kieran launched forward with a freedom reminiscent of Iniesta's best days. But the most interesting moment came when Flick placed him as a false 10, just behind Lewandowski. In this role, O'Connell demonstrated a vision of the game that left the coaching staff speechless, threading passes that seemed impossible and creating space for the wingers. Of course, adaptation won't be immediate. The intensity of La Liga, with its tight matches and compact defenses, is a different challenge from what Kieran is used to. In the Bundesliga, games are often more open, with more space to run and think. In Spain, he'll have to learn to operate in tighter spaces, handle tight marking, and make split-second decisions. But Flick, who has worked with players of all profiles, is convinced that O'Connell has the intelligence to adapt. "He's a player who learns quickly," he said in a private conversation with his staff. And those words are music to the ears of the Cules. Meanwhile, on social media, #OconnellMania continues to grow. Fans are discovering more and more details about Kieran's life, from his musical tastes, he's a U2 fan, which isn't surprising for a Dubliner, to his love of coffee, which has already sparked jokes about him requesting an espresso machine in the dressing room. But beyond the anecdotes, what's winning over the fans is his authenticity. In a world where footballers sometimes seem more like influencers than athletes, O'Connell is a breath of fresh air. He doesn't have a team of PR advisors managing his image, nor does he post staged photos on Instagram. For him, it's all about football, pure and simple, and that's something the Cules appreciate more than any marketing campaign. Economically, there are also details worth mentioning. O'Connell's transfer includes a series of clauses that protect Barca if the player doesn't meet expectations, while also rewarding Mönchengladbach if Kieran becomes a star. For example, there's a €5 million bonus if he plays at least 30 matches in his first season, and another €3 million if Barca wins a title with him on the field. This kind of agreement showcases Deco's shrewdness, as he managed to negotiate a risky signing without compromising the club's financial stability. And at a time when Barça is still battling La Liga's financial restrictions, every euro counts. As the sun sets behind the horizon, the city prepares for the night. In the bars, debates continue: O'Connell, Deco's next stroke of genius or a leap into the unknown? No one knows yet. But what's clear is that this signing has reignited hope among fans who never stopped dreaming.